All right, we last left off creating the Stripe form and passing parameters through for our perk that will be purchased and be new subscriptions. We also created a subscription model that, or not a model, but a resource that allows us to navigate this way and set that stuff up thanks to a new controller. So what I want to do in this video is continue on getting the JavaScript portion nailed down, because we've got nothing mounting on the page that's ready for Stripe to do its magic on. So the first thing I want to do is, of course, load the Stripe library. We're going to just do a JavaScript include tag. I'm going to put it everywhere. You can put it only on that page if you want, but chances are you might sell more things in the future. Who knows? And this needs to be pretty much everywhere anyway. js.stripe.com/v3. Okay. So that should give us Stripe API. Very good. Okay, next I'm going to create my version of what I would do for JavaScript. It's not picture perfect, but it's a fun little ES6 class. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to make a new components directory in my JavaScript folder. This is where I kind of just put modules or something that is relative to the app that isn't a controller for stimulus or anything else. So we'll need to import this now. So you can do import. Something like so. So I'll kick that down. We don't have anything in here yet, so let's get cracking. I'm going to create a class called Stripe Charges. And do that. For a class, you need a constructor typically if you want to pass anything down to it. So I'm going to use a form and the key, and within that we can assign those instances. This dot key equals key, and this dot stripe equals, we'll hook into the Stripe API we just linked, and then pass in this dot key. So initially on load, we're going to need to add a little bit of data to the app so we render this correctly. And honestly, I forget where I do that. Oh, it's at the bottom. Okay. Yeah. So at the very bottom, we're going to kick that off in this file just outside of the scope of the class. So document dot add event listener. TurboLinks load. So if you're using TurboLinks, you probably want to use this. Kind of skips that stuff. So we're able to process JavaScript on page refreshes. And inside here, we're going to get the form. I'm going to just do a query selector for it. And it's going to be an ID of payment form. Yours might be a little more dynamic. So we'll just say if the form exists, we should actually call it something. We'll set a charge, and we'll use the class above to do so. Pass in, and then the form.dataset.stripe key. And then we'll initialize the class. So let me paint you a picture here. I'm going to have an initialize method on this, so it's just going to be initial. If I can spell, I don't know if that's right. Initialize, I think. Yeah, and that will kind of kick things off. But right here, what I'm doing is passing in parameters to the class, which is what our constructor is responsible for. We can destructure those variables. They can be in any order if they're written in this way. But in the form, if you recall, we're passing the public key of the issuer or the person who created the project or the idea to back. We're passing that through, so we should be able to grab that this way. It's called Stripe key. We can get it in this fashion. So first we're getting the form, which is called payment form by ID, and then getting the data set layer off of that, and that's how you kind of do it. So this would actually be data set. Great, so that should initialize things if we're ready to roll. So then we're going to call a method called this.mountCard, which is in this class. And this is just all shared logic in this case. So we'll say mount card, and this is where the stripe elements stuff comes into play. So we'll just const elements equals this.stripe elements, and this refers to the class itself. So we can call this, and then on it we have this .stripe available to us. So we can just hook into this. This is the value on that thing. So we're essentially saying stripe, this .key, and then elements, and calling that. And then on the style, we can pass in some stuff we want. I'm just gonna do base. Okay, and then under that we'll have the card, create the card, and pass in that styles as a destructured object, because there's more than it's like multiple levels deep and whatnot. So then we could say if card.mount which is going to be in the form, and then this.generate token, which is another method we're going to get. This is card. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and create a new method outside of this one. We don't need a comma. We'll just do generate token, pass in the card, and then we could say I needed to do this to get access to the class. And this.form.add event listener, submit async event, and then we'll event.prevent default, so the form doesn't submit like a normal form. And then we get const token error, const error element, document.get element, ID, card errors, error element equals error.message. Sorry, my son is screaming. And this.token handler, token. Okay, of course, we need that token. Let self equals this again, and then hidden input, we're going to create one. Okay, and hidden input dot set attribute. We're going to do this 3 times, and the first is going to be type hidden, and then name is stripe token, value is the token itself, so token ID in this case, and then we'll say this.form append child that hidden input, and then we'll loop through each of the fields that are going to be on there, and we'll just update this to include what will be the card brand, last 4 digits of the number, expiration month, and expiration year. So for each of those, we can do this. So field self.addCard is another method we're calling out. So we'll pass in the token and then the field. And then we're almost there. Add card field. This token field. Wow, I'm used to Ruby. Notice we pass those through here, so we can do this here. And we'll just do kind of the similar thing. So let hidden input equals document dot create element input, and let's do this hidden input equal 3 of those, and we're going to just say type hidden name. This one will be a little more dynamic. So name is name or user card. I'll show you why this is the case based on the form we built, plus field. In fact, we could just do backticks here. Okay, and then the same with the token value, token dot card field. Boom. Finally, this dot form dot append child in hidden input. All right, I'm gonna find all these and get rid of them. Oops. Okay, I think that's it, guys. So we added, let me kind of take you through the paces here. We're listening, if I could spell, listening for TurboLinks load, getting the form by the ID. If the form exists, we'll go ahead and create the charge, initialize the class, and pass in the form itself, and then the data set, which is the Stripe key. From the key, we can create the Stripe instance, mount the card. The card uses elements, the library we're loading from Stripe, to create the card itself, and then pass in these styles here, as base styles. You can extend this quite a bit. So then if the card exists, I'll go ahead and mount the card. We're getting that from the card element, which is in the form itself. So you notice the card element ID here. And then we're generating the token on that card. The token is what's going to make the charge happen securely, as opposed to sending any encrypted data over the wire. So we'll listen for the form to submit. Once it does, we'll await for the token to be generated. If there's an error, we'll render that error out on the page. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and render this token by using this token handler method. The method's going to create an input, and it's going to pass in the token ID. It's going to be a hidden input in the field, in the form, and then within this token handler, we're going to pass in each of the card fields as well, so we can save just that data from the user to the database if we wanted to. So essentially, if you want to know the brand or the last 4 of the card you use, the month and the year, just so you're not actually saving card data, but you're saving bits of it that are public anyway, that allow the users to kind of know what the card they used last and if they want to update it and whatnot. So all that's to say, the JavaScript portion looks complete. We did import it into our main app. Then we can go ahead and render. I went ahead and added the Stripe form styles to the app already, so it looks like this. If we reload the page, I'm hoping the form will load on first try. There we go. So we get the Stripe card mounted. I don't know if we have any errors. This .form. Yep. Okay. So on Stripe 41, I just have a typo. It should be event. So with that, we've got the form set up and ready to rock and roll. Demo project has some test stuff. I might just delete these. I need to log in to do so though. I'm going to go ahead and just go to the console and delete those real quick. So product.all.destroy, I think it should work. Or project destroy all is a quick win. Boom. Cool. So now we'll basically use this to start over. So we have fresh projects to work with. We won't get any crazy errors. While we're at it on the new project's new, or subscriptions new. Excuse me, projects new. I mentioned we don't have a way to actually like render if a project should be created or not. We want to actually have a way to do so, only if the user is capable of selling a project or putting a project out there. You know what I mean? We'll do if a current user can receive payments. Remember, we set this method up earlier. We'll render the form. Otherwise, we're going to render that Stripe button again in this place. And this should be else. And then it's going to look like so. We'll just do Stripe connect button. All right. And then some styles to go along with it. So P6, BG white, rounded, large. Wrap that around and just have some text to help indicate what's going on. So let's say authorize Stripe. Text 3XL, font bold, text gray 900. And then P, class, margin bottom 6, text gray 900. And then I wrote, let's see, before you can configure a new project, we need you to connect to Stripe, just as like a general, you can't do anything until you do this message. All right, now obviously I need to create an account still, so I'm going to go ahead and sign in as let's see, this is the admin role. So I've connected my account. If you go in here, I'm already connected. That makes sense. If we create a new project, all good. So if I just do guest, let's sign up a new user. Now that looks like crap because I typed something wrong, but let's fix it. There we go. So now I can't create a new project because I'm not authorized yet. So I can look at projects and whatnot. I can go back projects, but I can't create a new one. So I need to create one, and I'll just use my same one for now. That'll be saved as a user. Now I can go create a new project, and we can add perks, everything under the sun. So that's pretty sweet. Now the concept of adding signups, if you noticed, if you log out and go to sign up, you see this sign in with Stripe Connect. We don't want that. So I'm going to go back to the devise area and go into registrations, new. And actually it'll render shared links here, so we actually just want to go into that. And then if you see this omni-authable it bit here, we can just do like a unless provider equals Stripe Connect, and then that should take care of it. So there we go. It's a quick little win there. Okay, so right now when we create perks, there's no way of Stripe knowing what plan we're actually signing up for. It needs a way to signify that in our dashboard. So when you create a subscription on Stripe, All right, so I'm in my other account, but if I created this and I had subscriptions, I should have like a plan. You know, I don't have that anything created, to be honest. So we need to still be able to do that. Oh, I'm viewing. I need to view test data. So billing, subscriptions, project. We have a plan here. This is from the very first project I showed off when I showed off the demo of this series. Notice the plan ID is going to relate to what we're passing through, but we need a way to tell Stripe this, and the only way to do that is to talk to the API. So what I'm going to do is a background job again that does that when we go ahead and create a new project. It communicates to Stripe. It passes through the plan IDs and some necessary info. So let's go and start there. So I'm going to create a job. Kill this for now. Rails generate job and create perk plans. And I'll just go ahead and start like that. And then I'll just run the server again. And I'll go back to jobs, create perk plans. That's hard to say. Jobs, we're going to pass through the project itself in this case. And then on that, we're going to get the key, if you recall, is going to come from the project.user.access code. So that's going to be their way of getting the Stripe integration intact. So then we can get the Stripe class API key and use their key instead of our own to make the charge and or create the plan on their account. So then essentially we could do project.plans or perks.each do perk. For each perk we create, we're going to create a plan. So we'll just say Stripe plan.create, pass in parameters. And the ID you can customize. So this was one thing I was like, wait, how do I make sure I can create something that's referred to? I can refer to it later. And the way it's going to work is just passing in stuff we've already been using. So in the ID column, we're going to add a string that's going to be interpolated. If I can type like so, we're going to get the perk.title.parameterize. And then we're going to do /perk underscore another one, perk ID. Now, if you recall, I have this in our view too. It pertains to the actual button when you go to actually subscribe. So it's all connected in that way. So if we go to projects and then this active project bit and that button, you notice I have that same formula here, which is intentional. So from the ID, then we can just pass in the amount as well, which is going to be the perk amount, some Ruby here, perk.amount.toR rationale times 100. We need it in cents here, so I need to make a dollar amount to an integer and to a cents, of course. So currency for us can be USD, can be different for you. Interval. Now this could be dynamic if you wanted it to be. You just need a way for the user to, expose that to the user. Okay, and then for the product, we will do name perk.title, and then nickname will be perk.title.parameterize. All right, so that will go ahead and set up the actual process of creating the plans on the Stripe API. So hopefully that makes sense. We're basically telling the user who is creating the job or creating the project to be able to create the plans dynamically with Stripe, all in one fell swoop. So on the project controller is where we're going to kick this one off. And just like we did with our expire the project itself, we can just first say if there's any perks and if the current user can make payments, we'll go ahead and render this. So I'll do it after this job. So say if, I'll just do it before, why not? That one's a one-liner. So if project.perks.any, make sure there are perks before this happens. and current user dot can receive payments. We're already doing this check in the view layer, but I want to double check it just so we're not using resources we don't need to. Create perk plans job dot perform. I'm going to just do now because we need that plan pretty much right away. Project. If you want to do perform later, you totally can. It would actually make use of the in-queuing process. But for now, we're just going to run it. And that should do the trick. So we can go check and see if this does create the plans now if we create a new project. So I'm going to try that. Let's just use this account. Hello world. Let's just say like 5,000. Let's create 2 plans. We'll call it plan 1 test, something like that. Let's just call it 10 and do the next one, plan 2 test. If I create this, we have an issue. Let's see. Can receive. I can't spell, guys. That's the issue. There we go. Background job was enqueued. If we look right here, we go. Now if we go to Stripe, we go to subscriptions. If we go to products, I mean, there they are, 1 and 2, just like that. We passed through the perk 1 test, perk 4 ID, whatever. So that's working. Only problem now is we need a way to kind of save some data and destroy users and stuff like that, or not users. So let's render the subscriptions now in the view. I believe I did this prior to, so let's go to project after project perks.each. We've got that now. Okay, so now initializing the charge and allowing subscriptions to happen is a whole nother thing. So now we've got the subscription controller. On the create, we're going to go ahead and do the magic here. So here's where it's going to get a little hairy, but definitely worthwhile. So project, we'll first find it. That's just a parameter coming through. We'll set the key to be the users. So project.user.access code. And then we'll hook into the Stripe API key equals key. It just kind of sets it up as the user intention who is, getting backed in the project. So then we'll have the plan. Plan is going to be Stripe plan.retrieve. We can retrieve that plan since we just created it. And then the token that's going to come through on the front end, thanks to all the JavaScript magic we did. And then on that side, we'll have basically the stuff we need variable wise. Now we need to set the customer up. So we'll first check if we have a customer, and I'm going to end up having to add a Stripe ID column to the users table here in a second. I'll do that after this controller. So we're going to check for that though. So Stripe ID, we'll go and get it if there is one. Customer.retrieve current user Stripe ID. Else, if there is no customer, we'll just create one. Create with the email, current user, email, and then the source will be the token we pass through from up here. And then we can say end, Cool. So continuing on, we need to set up the subscription now. A lot of people might extract this all into either a concern or a service object. I'm leaving it as is for now, just so it's clear where things are at. So subscription.new, or it should be create. Now we're going to pass through the customer and then the items. So the plan will be plan. And then there's this bit from the docs that had this in it. I'm not terribly sure what it means, but I kept it in. Application fee is the next bit that's important. Is going to be the percentage of what you want to charge per transaction for the subscription. So you can set that up to be anything you want. In this case, 10% will be the end up fee here, and so that's what I take off the top of whoever's calling this. Actually, it should be there. There. Application fee, and then let's see, we got the 10%, and then we need to round out this call with the Stripe account, which will be the key that we created in the first place, which is the customer, the person who is, again, creating the project to be backed. We're going to create an options hash, and the Stripe ID is going to be the customer ID in this case. On creation, if they don't already have one. So subscribe, we'll set a flag for that, which will be true. And then options, we're going to merge in those parameters that would otherwise be the card data that we added. So in this case, it's going to be card last four params user card last four. Sorry if it's loud, I swear. Card XP month params user card XP month. So we have the expiration month, and then we have, why did I hit that? Card XP year params user card XP year, and then card type is params user card brand. And then finally, to get all those options into the database, we just say current user update options. Super cool little call there. Finally, we'll redirect to the root path. Notice your subscription was set up successfully. And then we'll save it. So the user parameter here is coming back from the form field. So if we go back to our actual app, and I can't back this one, but if I go to JSmitty on the subscription area, we did model current user, and that's the way it's going to come through the request. So if I just request this form, it's going to come back with a hash of user that's the subset of these other fields, which is how we're accessing it here. Hopefully that makes sense without actually seeing it. I know it's probably a little hard to understand. First, create the migrations that we need for these extra fields for our user. Do that. Rails, generate, migration, add subscription fields to users. Stripe ID is the one I mentioned that I definitely need. We'll need Stripe subscription ID. string. And then subscribed is just a Boolean if they are subscribed. And then current plan. Actually, I don't need current plan, I don't think. I'm going to get rid of that one. Card last four, string. Card XB month, string. Card XB year, string. And then card brand or type in this case. We'll just do type because that's what I had in the notes. String. That's a lot, but it's just a few fields to, you know, save some stuff about the user, so we know a bit about their subscription. Let's try to go ahead and buy something now. So I'll go and I think I'm signed in as Joe Smitty or John Smitty or whatever. Let's just pass in the test keys. Pay 10 a month. Doesn't look like anything happened there. So form that pin child X per year is undefined. JavaScript. All right, so I think I created this by the first thing. This is the first plan. I think I can create this. Let's check the form. It's got the API key coming back. There it is. Let's try this one. So no plan test perk. Okay, so I need to create new plans is what it's boiling down to. I'm going to go back and log in as the other person. I'm just going to delete them all, to be honest. So Rails console, and then just project.destroy all. Cool. All right, Rails server. Go back in. Let me sign in as my main first account. Create some new projects that are just dummy. Project, dummy. Dummy one. Like 25, I don't know, 20 of those. I'll just leave it at 1 because I don't feel like continuously typing. Creates this, kicks off the job. There's dummy data. I can't pack my own job, but I can go back, I think it. So let's try jsmitty. All right, I'm going to create an account with jsmitty. Now I'm going to go try to back this idea. $25 a month. Okay, so this is still not working. Let me try this. I'll connect with Stripe with this guy. Create a new project. Dummy 2, John Smith. 10,000. Okay, I can't back that. If I log in as myself though, should be able to go view this, do this. If this doesn't work, then I'm not sure what's up. Yeah, it's still doing it. Okay, let's okay, so I figured it out, guys. I had some typos going on. But my latest user worked. I think I had a missing comma in one of these parameters here. It was throwing a bork. But I figured it out. And what's left to do is just note that the last user, we could go and check out console probably. Let's find. Let's go to Stripe actually. Let's go in here. Should have products. Subscriptions. Here's my dummy John Smith account. We did just get the invoice, so there we go. I'm on this plan, which is good. And within that, we can kind of just verify that that worked. If we want to check out the charge itself, we could go back into my other account and check it out. So I'll go into incognito and stripe.com. Sign in as my real account. This is the platform. Go into connect. Should see we just got accounts created and successful payments recently. If we go into accounts, could go into this one, payments, and this is one we just created, the subscription, which will take us to the current user, so WebCrunch in this case. And then notice the fee we get charged, so we get $2 of that since it's 10%. And Stripe gets the 0.88, so that's pretty sweet. Just confirming that that worked. Okay, so what about destroying subscriptions? Not completely easy, but not terrible. So let's do that. The first thing we want to do is start with a method subscription, or I would say variable, excuse me, to remove. It's going to be params. We're going to get this from the view ID. And then the customer is going to be Stripe customer dot retrieve. Current user Stripe ID, because they're going to be authenticated when doing this. And then we could say customer subscriptions retrieve subscription to remove, so that ID, and then delete, which is just a Ruby way of saying goodbye. Current user dot subscribed now becomes false. If we look at the last user or find where John Smith was, I'm just curious now. So user.find by, I'm going to go make this a variable, u equals u, email jsmitty. So now we don't have the subscription ID. I think it was because I logged in as, the hell account am I logged in as? Oh, it's WebCrunch. Okay, so let's find that one then. So user equals, I already know that's first. So you, see we have a, oh, we should have a subscription ID. We have the other stuff though, so the card stuff, publishable key, right on. Wonder why I don't have a subscription ID. Yeah, we could have saved the subscription ID. We didn't necessarily need to. It's a way to go ahead and do that. Yeah, I'm gonna do it a different way, a dirtier way. Wouldn't recommend the way I'm gonna do it, but it certainly could work. But let's circle back to what I was doing. So we do have the fields, the Stripe ID and stuff that we do need. Notice I am subscribed though, which is the whole point of showing you this. So now with that in mind, we can destroy a given user as a result of that. So user subscribed equals false in that case. And then we'll just go ahead and redirect to root path. And notice the viewer has been canceled. All right. So that's kind of the main logic. We're going to amend that in a bit based on the subscriptions you actually have. Obviously, you can have more than one subscription, so we need to account for that. So what I want to do is add a little bit of logic that's, I would say, dirty, quick and dirty, into the view to get this to kind of work the way we want. So let's go to Vise, registrations, and edit, I think. So below the connected to Stripe context, I want to add a little bit more. we're going to say if resource, which in this case would be user subscribed. So if they're actually subscribed, we'll show what they're subscribed to, but we need to get the customer. This is what I said is dirty. Stripe customer.retrieve. We could extract this to a controller, just didn't. Stripe ID. That allows us to get the user, our customer, and then if customer.subscriptions any, we'll do more. So let's see, P6 MT10 text gray 900 BG white rounded, and then shadow large, and then we'll have just a class of just H4 font bold text gray 900 active subscriptions. Below that is an unordered list. This is nothing fancy, but we're gonna loop through the subscriptions. So customer.subscriptions.list.data.each, and this is all part of the Stripe API. It's stuff I explored by trial and error, to be honest. Then for each LI class, we'll have flex, item center, justify between py4 border bottom, and then within that div sub.plan.nickname, and then we'll just say link to cancel subscription. Subscription path. So here's where we're going to pass through the ID that we were referencing in the controller, and then we're going to do a method of delete data confirm, just to confirm, are you sure? And then that should do the trick, I believe. So if we render this page on our app and see, of course I have a syntax error. There we go. So I've got this cancel subscription path. Now I still need a way to, actually get it all going, but I think it should work. One thing I want to do first is confirm it will work. So let's see. Sweet. So if we go into our dashboard, see if this is active now. Canceled. So that just worked. Sweet. Quick and dirty, but hell, it works. So with that in mind, we can go ahead and do a little cleanup and kind of wrap this thing up. One thing I want to do is add an array of what the user is subscribed to so we can keep track of it, but also just add a little bit more of like that backing count we don't have. So let's add that as a migration. Let's do that one next. Hello Rails is my new course on Ruby on Rails. I'll teach you Ruby on Rails from the ground up. Visit hellorails.io for more information.